To the cloud.
Welcome.
Episode
6.
Episode 6. Conscious guys get laid more.
Eventually.
This is one of your hosts, Andy Seuss. And I'm the other host, Lyndon Crow. Then there should be like a nice effect, like woo, woo, yeah, Lyndon Crow.
We do the Arsenio Hall.
Ooh, that's cool.
No. What would little shits do?
Little shits would be like, yeah, lame. Your shit's lame. Your shit's weak.
Oh, damn. That sucks.
We should have like a sound effects though.
Okay.
Like clapping and laughing.
Like a live studio audience.
Just to make us feel good.
A recorded studio audience.
I'm gonna figure that out. We're gonna get sound effects.
Okay.
It's gonna be cool.
That'd be cool.
How's it been going?
It's been going pretty good, man. I am, dude, just so much change and transformation happening in this experience for me. I had one of the best conversations. I had one of the best experiences with Karen today. It was pretty awesome. So yesterday, maybe more context. So we have been talking about upgrading, like buying a house, getting out of the tiny little place we live in because we're now working from home. And Karen's job has her working East Coast hours. So waking up at 6 a.m. Pacific time, that's when her first conference call starts, and it just echoes through the whole house. So I get to, like, these people are in my house at 6 a.m. talking about
speakerphone?
Yeah, it's so lame.
Why does she do that?
Because she has so much trouble with her computer and connecting it to earphones and other things, and
she's got fancy earphone things. I've seen it. It looks like that guy from what's that one movie? The Muppets. You know, he's got the earphone and then he like tilts it towards it so you could hear. It's not exactly look like that, but
it reminds me more of the guy from Empire Strikes Back where they're on the Cloud City. And the guy that follows Lando Calrissian around with the ear things on.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like to me.
And
anyway.
So because that doesn't connect to her ear, she's got to put it on speakerphone and wake you up?
Well, something like that.
Am I going off on a tangent?
You're going off on a tangent.
Do I need to step in and utilize my IT skills, which are about a 1 out of 100?
Get her some earpods.
Hey, I connected this microphone.
You did. Look at this thing. It's our first phallic symbol on Conscious Guys Get Laid More. What do you guys think? You love it? I think I do. Anyway, so what happened today was she put her earphones in.
Oh, just what we're talking about.
Exactly. And
so you don't even need a bigger house.
Yeah, that solves the entire problem.
Oh, sorry. You want to tell a story? Go ahead, Andy. Tell your story.
Well, that's okay. No, yeah, I will tell my story. Fuck you. So I realized how important it was to be considered in the moment I came home from working out and her earphones were in and I didn't hear the noise and the chatter of the conference call. And I hadn't recognized that it was the consideration that had me feeling disconnected and kind of intruded upon. And so when she was on a break, I let her know how much that meant to me and how loved I felt from that. And it was a really special moment. And it's interesting that sometimes what I think is important, like getting a new house, that way we don't have to deal with the noise and everything.
Yeah.
Isn't necessarily the solution.
Yeah.
Or the way that I will feel what it is that I think I'm missing.
Yeah. How did you realize that it was consideration? Like I get that there was all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, but there was no more noise of the conference. How did you connect that to consideration?
Because I realized that it doesn't always work. Her ability to connect to her earphones doesn't always work, and it's frustrating and irritating for her. And so rather than try it over and over and over again and get the irritation built up, she tried it and it worked and it happened. And I am okay with it not working every time. And so it just the act of knowing that it's bothersome to me and irritating and fills the whole house, and her giving it a try, even though that experience is irritating to her, that contribution to me, I'm interpreting that as a consideration.
Oh, so you've asked her to attempt it and to try to figure it out.
At the very beginning, when she started working on projects, she would.
Got it.
And then she kind of gave up on it because it was just too much to deal with.
Got it. So that to you, today's gesture was was I'm considering Andy and his well-being.
Mm-hmm.
And when you talked with her about it, was that her intent behind it as well? Or did it haphazardly, she just did it and then luckily it...
No, she consciously made the choice to attempt to connect this morning because she knew, like in a conversation we had with the real estate agent who came over yesterday, we were talking about why we wanted a house and all the things. And,
it's happening.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah, we're making steps to figure out what we can afford and what we can get into, and if that's the choice we want to make.
Cool.
Yeah.
Wow. How does she do with taking in that information when you stopped her and told her whatever you did about, I really appreciate it, thank you for considering me?
Oh, if she didn't have to get on a call, we would have probably made out for a little while.
Nice.
Yeah.
You found a good one.
We kissed. It was nice.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
That's cute. Did you know that you had a value around consideration?
I know I have a trigger button around respect. And respect, I think, is tied to consideration.
Yeah, very, very similar, overlapping. Okay, interesting. What's your value around respect? Just, I know you could just...
We're going to get into that when we talk about my authority issues.
Authority.
Respect my authority.
Respect my authority. Okay.
Yeah, man. So the respect button has to do with absolutely with consideration, whether it's consideration of me, consideration of a larger perspective or an alternative perspective. And when I get the sense that there is a selfish, self-serving, at the
detriment.
Yeah, I guess detriment of someone or something else or some other agreement. Like there's a priority put on if it was me, and I put a priority on what it is I wanted, and that would cause an ill effect to someone else, that would be a lack of consideration. If I didn't realize that it would cause an ill effect on someone else, then that's just, oh shit, well, let me take that into consideration next time. But if I'm doing it and it's almost a willful, sorry, then that seems more like a choice to harm someone else rather than take that into consideration.
What do you do? How do you take something into consideration, but it's still, and you take it in and you realize, but you still need to do what it is for whatever you want to do for yourself. Does that still feel disrespectful?
It can. It can, but there's some other component there. And what it's reminding me of is this joke that Karen and I have about
white pants.
No, not that joke, but but shousing it. It's Karen has dubbed it shousing it, where I leave just a little bit of something. Did we talk about this before? So in my house growing up, there was this unwritten rule, unstated rule that you can't eat the last thing. So like if we have a pack of Fig Newtons, you can't eat the last of the Fig Newtons. There has to be one left just in case someone wants one. And so there would be who ate the last of this, and there would be a little like edge on that, right? And so I just grew up not eating the last of things. There'd be one or two whole chips and some crumbs left in the chip bag. There'd be, whatever. And so that kind of forced consideration doesn't really serve anybody. So the other day we had a bottle of Dr. Pepper, and there was just enough for a glass. And I drank the last of it.
Oh, you asshole.
Exactly, right? I didn't ask Karen if she wanted any.
Whoa.
I was just like,
she's still with
I'm
you?
done. Yeah, she's totally with me.
Whoa.
But the best thing about that was I didn't think about chousing it. I was just like, oh, I want some Dr. Pepper. Oh, look, my glass is full. The bottle's empty. Fill out the bottle. Later that night, Karen's like, can you give me a glass of Dr. Pepper? And I'm like, nope, I drank the last of it today. And she's all, oh, okay. And that's all that happened.
That's all that happened.
That's all that happened.
What happened inside you?
I was like, holy fuck, that's amazing.
Oh,
that's all that happens.
Nice.
That's it. That's so cool.
So you had like your first ounce of evidence over on the other side of the scale.
Exactly.
Felt good.
So that lack of consideration, right? It didn't, there wasn't really a harm or an intent to take away from Karen the last of the Dr. Pepper. It was more of, there's Dr. Pepper, I'm going to drink it. There's a store, we can get more. Like, just didn't play into that field. So there's something in that I think I can borrow. I'm not quite sure what it is yet, but does that make sense?
I follow what you're saying, because why I asked the question at the beginning is the idea of consideration is great, but it doesn't mean that you're going to change what your course of action is going to do. You still may, somebody still may feel burned. Sure. Somebody still may feel left out. Somebody still may not get the last Fig Newton in it. And,
their feelings are my responsibility.
Well, that's an enlightened response.
I'm so woke. Wait, no, I'm not woke.
Yeah,
not at all.
That's an enlightened response. But the way in which you described it, you still, when you answered it, you said, I'd still feel bad if I took it, and then that was a burden on them. Or I can't remember exactly how you stated it, but you almost like you almost got yourself sucked back into, I can only do it if they don't feel bad about it.
Oh, yeah, that's not exactly true or how I want to hold it. So thank you for bringing that up.
Your story made it sound like you didn't do that, but I'm also wondering, did you get a sense of relief when Karen said, that's okay, and it kind of like water off a duck's back for her. She didn't mind. But if she was something different, if she was like, oh man, that's exactly what I wanted right now. All I want right now is a Dr. Pepper.
Oh, I'd have just, in that moment and the way that I from the ground of being that I was in, I'd have been like, order some.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
So then you were clean with your
I was so
of respect.
Clean. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That was very, very clean.
Yeah, because before it felt like it was contingent on the other person, and then that's a dangerous route.
Nope. But what was great was I wasn't bracing myself for her to be upset either. So it was just wherever I was, like emotionally and mentally, and everything was just, I don't even know. It was so different than my typical experience, or my historic experience of that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. So tell me about the house thing. What are you guys doing?
So our real estate agent came over and was discussing like the market, how it is right now, and what the pricing is looking like, and what our first steps need to be to figure out what we qualify for with or without selling the condo. And then from there, we can look at what's available and what fits into our dream list. But because the market is so scarce of property to buy, if we see something or want something, we need to do $50,000 to $100,000 over the asking price to try and get it. And whatever comes along, we have to make the choice if that's gonna fit. Like, what are we willing to give up or not take, right? Or how long do we want to go? So like, he was telling a story of one of his clients was getting into a house in Mission Viejo, and they offered $750,000 cash. That was the asking price, and they got turned down.
Wow.
No, cash, $750,000. I'm like, who has that kind of fucking cash? That's awesome.
What was that the listed price for it?
Mm-hmm.
So people were outbidding that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Crazy, man.
It's weird. It's a weird market right now.
I wonder what's going to happen.
Oh, the bubble will burst at some point. And also, like, we might find a place
at the height of the bubble.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, whatever. Fuck it.
If I can make the monthly, who cares?
There you go. Well, that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
That's exciting. I felt like I got to be a part of that in the couples workshop that you guys are taking.
You did get to be a part of that. That was so cool.
Had you brought it up before that? I mean, not like in times past. In recent times.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah.
I had the sense that in that workshop on Friday
that was
night,
the first time she heard about it.
That was the first time that she'd heard about it in a couple of months. And it was like, oh, damn, this is happening. Yeah, we're doing the issue here. That was cool. And then the week later, you guys are actually talking to a realtor. That'd be funny. Well, cool. Nice job. I'm glad that you and Karen, you got to show her the appreciation for her consideration of you.
Yeah, it was nice.
Yeah. I still wonder why you haven't just figured out her headset stuff so that you can just make sure that you don't have to hear 10 people on a conference call all the time.
So there's a thing that Karen has about her ability and capability.
Oh.
And so to have people do things for her kind of pushes a button for her.
Oh.
Especially around technology. And so I've learned over many attempts to try and support or help or say, I can probably figure that out. Would you like me to? No.
Oh,
no, she doesn't.
So it's better to have the discomfort of conference calls in your ear at all hours of the day than to push the button.
Well, it's also
of Karen.
It's also there's several other factors playing into the relationship dynamic, and this is one situation that so we would have to go a little bit broader and probably a little deeper to explore that. So if you got a question, we can go there maybe.
Well, you opened it up. Where should we go? Tell me all your thoughts on God, 'cause I'd really like to meet her.
I don't know if this is something Karen would like me to share. Yeah. So that is a little weird.
Yep.
So I'll say that part of my discomfort is Karen's discomfort. I'll own that. Like,
for sure.
Asking and pressuring or pushing or demanding or any of those things that puts Karen in a space of discomfort, irritation, or upset just makes life a little bit miserable.
You tread lightly.
I do. I tend to err on the side of treading lightly.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And in this case, there are 3 or 4 factors playing into why I have chosen to tread lightly that, have to do with her and her relationship to the projects that she's on, the teams that she's on, and the relationship she has with herself that she's currently working on. Mm-hmm. And I'm super proud of her. And so to add the stimulus or that would potentially open up a discord between her and I over a conference call isn't worth it. Like, she's working on some shit and I'm giving her a little time and space to figure that out. And then,
and then we'll get a big house and then I don't have to hear it and it'll all be good. I get it. I get it, bro.
Well, I like how you boil it down to
make it simple.
Fucking
make it simple.
Nonsense.
Yeah, you should get a bigger house. That's it. That's the end of it. Well, cool. Nice job. Way to go.
Yeah.
What else was there something else on that? Or what? That wasn't even on one of our podcast idea topics.
No, we just went fucking rogue.
Whoa, look at us.
We're nailing this shit.
Wow.
Don't even need a checklist.
Yeah. Okay, what's the next on our list? Dr. Seuss.
Dr. Seuss.
Racism, history, and cancel culture. So you had an interesting conversations today with Alex Ochoa from Performance Chiropractic and Health and Wellness.
Yeah.
Get your back cracked here, folks.
Yeah. Get your performance on.
Get your performance on. So what was
Dude, I saw pictures of you. Performance Health and Wellness.
Did you see how awkward they looked?
Yeah, they totally looked awkward.
Gosh.
Look at me doing an exercise against the wall.
If you guys want to see if I can find it, I'll show you.
That's so
For
cute.
any of the people that are watching on YouTube that can see, what were they? Are they performance?
Yeah, Performance Health and Wellness.
Performance.
I love the picture where you're like
up against the wall
on the ground.
This one?
Oh yeah, that's it. Doing a lunge, and Alex is like, that one's super awkward.
Caption that, folks.
Yeah, what's going on here?
Caption that.
That's great. I love that one.
He put it in a little too deep, and now my back's all spasmed out.
Jesus Christ. Oh man. Yeah. Anyway, so
Like it.
there's Alex taking a picture of I don't know what. Oh, he's angling.
He's doing an angle. He had he had a
flexibility is.
He had an app on his phone that showed the angle.
That's cute. That's awesome. Yeah. He's got his.
I'm Insta famous now. How many people like that? I want to check it out again.
Like 4.
26 people liked it. Booyah!
You're super likable.
Yeah. Oh, hello. Can you guys see?
Oh no, our video just took a shit. Cool. So what was the question again?
Cancel culture. You had a great conversation with Alex.
Dr.
I want to hear what it is and then see if we want to continue from it.
Yeah. So the Dr. Seuss thing, like you've been reading Grace, Dr. Seuss, and I was kind of joking with Alex, like, so I was going to go on the podcast today and be like, so what's it like to bring up your baby to be a racist? But that's not really happening. So, yeah, like these books, however many there are, I don't know. I saw 2. You're thinking there might be 6 that are no longer being published by the people who own the rights to Dr. Seuss books.
Right.
And we all know Dr. Seuss. I grew up with Dr. Seuss.
He's an amazing man, Ted Geisel.
That's right. You know his real name.
I'm going to say it every single podcast. All of our podcasts are going to have an ode to Ted.
Ode to Ted. That's right. And so we were just talking, like, what about something makes it okay to like cancel it or put it off? Like, where's the line drawn, right? And I think for me, I was sharing with Alex that the idea where someone's values and perspective are being forced onto other people is a line that gets crossed there. Like if I'm telling you that you have to conform to these ideals and this way of being, and that these pictures, these images, this is how you should feel about this particular type of person and all this kind of stuff, then that to me is over a line. And then there's the idea of self-expression. Like people are trying to say that Eminem and his lyrics are offensive and therefore he should be canceled, right? This idea that, and the way that I see it and look at it is Eminem is, has gone through this huge transformation from seeing the world through his perspective, his limited perspective, is sharing his growth through his lyrics and what his journey's been and how he's put his random thoughts and ideas and beliefs out for the public to look at and scrutinize. Big fucking deal.
Right.
Like if you don't like it, don't listen to it.
Right.
I have never heard that him say, this is the way everybody should think. That's not what he's doing, but his art is an expression of his journey of transforming his thinking and how he feels about the world.
Yeah. So how do you take that in, like with the first thing about, if somebody or some entity were to say, this is how you should think about this, this is how you should feel about this.
Like the government?
Well, what I was going to say was, what do you think about government or religion?
Yeah, I don't like religion very much.
Because any holy book essentially in some form says, this is how you should do this.
I think it's very limited. It's kind of like a shorthand version of like the 10 Commandments, right? You should not kill. How many people has America killed? Like it's a hypocritic, it's a hypocrisy. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't align. It's okay to go against a rule or bend a rule or break a law or do whatever if what? Like, so even the choice to obey that is still a choice that somebody gets to make. So I got lost. So you tell me, bring me back to the question.
Well, I think like I have a general, I'm generally in agreement, I think, with what you're saying about you shouldn't force your opinion on somebody else. I'm for that. I think the freedom of expression and people's individual choices is, for me, a very high value. I also believe that there should be some kind of government. I think that there should be people that say, hey, this is how you can do stuff. This is how we could, this is a better way to do X, Y, Z. I mean, productive learning does that. We essentially say, hey, if you live mindfully, your life's going to be fucking kick ass. And if you don't, well, it's going to be the mediocrity or whatever it is that you already have.
Sure.
Right. So I'm, by virtue of me just being a part of productive learning, I obviously think that there's the preaching out something is totally fair and fine.
Yeah. And people's choice into that culture, into that belief system, into that organization, into that following is still their choice, right? Where it becomes, where it crosses a line is like we were talking about the disgusting cults the other day, like where it becomes no longer a choice. That's an issue. Where you're forced to stay, where you're forced to do things that you don't want to do. Yeah. That becomes problematic.
Yeah. Yeah. Even when it is, you've been no longer forced, but you have been manipulated to the point where you don't see the option in front of you.
Where you don't see your choice any longer.
Part of the idea of the cult.
So there's culture where, like, even in an organization, like a corporations have cultures, right? And so, like, these are the things these are the values that we follow. This is the mandate or the manifesto or the whatever you want to call it,
right?
That mission, we follow, values, right? Yeah. And if you don't agree with them, you don't have to be employed here,
right?
There's the choice. It's clear.
Yeah, yeah. I think the idea of cancel culture is well-intended bullshit.
Oh yeah, it's totally shorthand. That's my phrase. It's shorthand. It's trying to shortcut the conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. I've talked to you about it, and I've talked to a handful of people about it, but Jonathan Haidt, I think that's how you pronounce his last name, Haidt. It's not Haddad. I think it's Haidt. Anyway, he wrote a book called Coddling of the American Mind.
Oh,
did I told you about that? No,
maybe.
Tell
me again.
It's a freaking fascinating book. So here, the opening premise talks about peanut allergies, and in the 50s and 60s, there was roughly 4% of the U.S. population had a peanut allergy. Like, okay, that's fine. And then that statistic got out and was publicized and promoted, saying, hey, you got to watch out. Your kid may have a peanut allergy. So because they don't have an immune system, or it's a very small compromised immune system as they are infants and then growing up, you should wait until later to introduce peanuts to them and other allergens to them.
Makes sense.
Right. It's a good intention. What the fault in that logic is today, or I think when he wrote the book in early 2010, 11, 12 or something like that, there is a statistic now that there's roughly 16 to 18% of the US population has a peanut allergy. And what he has found is the reason that is because with the intent of keeping our kids safe, we didn't introduce peanut and peanut butter until they were 8, 9, and 10. And at that point, their immune system was more or less created, and they didn't have the enzymes to break it down. And so therefore, they actually had an allergic reaction. Whereas if they got introduced to peanuts and peanut butter when they were 3 or 2, their system would start to integrate and understand and build the enzymes up. So out of a desire to create safety, the intent to create safety, we actually made them less safe.
Yeah. People have been saying stuff like that, like let your kid play in the dirt because they need to build their immunity.
Exactly.
They need to be exposed.
They need to see what
things,
what a
right?
sharp object can do. So
Yeah.
let them do it,
Yeah.
supervise it so they don't really hurt themselves. But if they hurt themselves a little, fantastic. Now they know what a switchblade does. You know? So that's the opening premise. That's not even the book. The whole book is there then on the idea of our society did that in regards to physical safety.
Mm-hmm.
And then it started to shift it to emotional safety.
Mm-hmm.
And now we are trying to nerf the entire world. We're trying to coddle the American mind. We're trying to make sure that don't be hurt. Oh, they didn't get picked for the team. Don't worry. We're going to make every team neutral and the same. And we're not going to keep score anymore on the soccer field.
Yeah.
And everyone, like I think you even said last time on the last podcast, everyone gets a trophy.
Yeah.
So they're because they don't want some kid to go home crying that they lost and another kid to feel like a champion and that guy's ego to get blown up and this guy's ego to be crushed. When actually that's what fucking life is ups and downs and winnings and losings. And that one is smarter or faster or brighter or stronger than you, or you are smarter and faster and brighter than somebody else. And how do you deal with that would be, to me, a much more healthy conversation to grow an enlightened culture and society. But what we've done is we've said, no, we don't want to deal with that discomfort. And so let's take away and neutralize everything, which is really interesting. So Jonathan Haidt wrote this, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago or something like that. And now with the concept, with this philosophy of cancel culture, it's essentially that, and now it's just gotten on steroids. It's his coddling of the American mind gone on steroids, where if it offends anybody, we need to cancel it. And that to me is fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
The idea that I should not say something because it has offended you, and therefore I'm the bad guy because you feel offended. Holy cow. What kind of victim bullshit are we stepping into? It doesn't make any sense to me, because at that point, anybody can be offended for anything, and therefore everything should by its very nature be canceled.
Right.
And until we can live in a society where everything is bland vanilla, which is impossible, then cancel culture should not exist. It can't exist. As opposed to going to exactly what you're doing. Sorry, let me rant for a second.
Yeah.
Going to what you're talking about, which is we're shortcutting a conversation. It's like my desire would be, if somebody felt like they should cancel something, it's actually, no, let's go have a conversation about it.
Yeah.
I like what I think, if I've read the article correctly, if I'm remembering the article correctly, is that Disney didn't stop any of their movies that had racist portrayals of things that came out in the 60s and 70s and 80s. What they did was, at the beginning, they put a little thing on the front of the screen that said, hey, viewer discretion, there's some scenes in here that are may not be suitable for all ages, or that may be seen as racist. That to me was a brilliant move. That to me said, if the parent is watching it with the kid, they can say, okay, little Andy, there's going to be some things about the Chinaman or the Negro, and they're going to say these things, but here's why they did that. Because back in the 40s and the 50s and the 60s, or whenever this thing was in the 1800s, we thought of people this way, which was not correct.
Yeah.
How we should think of it is this way, and this is what would be correct. So it's not good to use, they just explain it to the kid so the kid can understand history and what's going on, instead of being oblivious to it and you cancel the entire thing. Well, then history is totally fucking doomed to repeat itself if you do that.
For sure. At least doomed to repeat itself.
Yeah, if not annihilate itself, right?
Yeah.
Until the cancel culture people start to get a hold of the nuclear bombs, and then they're like, we need to cancel that. Click.
Yeah, man.
There goes the self-destruction.
It's horrible. And with what gets me is that cancel culture, like you said, is trying to remove all the triggers, right? And so that removes the ability to experience failure. That removes the ability to experience resilience, getting back up and going for it again, and developing and growing. And that's just, for people who are in the industry of growth and development, like that's just it's like taking a sedative for your entire life, just to be chill,
like, so that you don't feel the pain of something.
Fuck that.
Yeah, this is actually what I was working on with some of the members of the Conscious Leadership Circle that I had this morning. Is so at one point, one of the members was helping another member, and they were talking about tools that they have used and strategies that they have used to help calm them down, right? To bring them down. And I was, the way that the Conscious Leadership Circle is, it's a round table, and anybody can challenge and process and question anything. And I just kind of run the meeting and govern, make sure the conversation stays on track. And so the conversation's going, and I thought it was all great, and it's great tools, and they're jotting it down, they're feeling good. But what they were missing, and then what I brought back up is, so now you're creating an aversion or a need to avoid this kind of situation.
Exactly.
And so I asked them, do you think that you can always avoid that kind of situation as you want to grow your business? No, of course not. You can't. That wouldn't make sense. You couldn't do business. You couldn't have employees. You couldn't have clients and vendors and all this kinds of stuff. So then, as much as the tools may work to calm down, the tools are to be used after you've had the conversation with yourself of, how can I manage me in the midst of this discomfort?
Yeah.
That is fantastic. So for those that feel offended, instead of canceling the person or the entity or the whatever it is that has you feel offended, your work is to go figure out why you feel offended and how you can still stay mindful through that whole process and not need to change. And then if you feel good about how you've shown up and you've had a good, clean conversation with the other person and understand their intent, and you understand where you're coming from, and you're coming from a place of based on your mission and your values, then if you still need to go calm down, great, there's a couple of tools that you can go do that. You know, that's fine. That's wonderful. But not after the fact of. This is kind of like, it's to me, it's related to, like, do I want to be a person that has 6 to 12 Advil a day because I have some kind of pain?
Right.
Like, you could do that, and you could mitigate a lot of the pain, or we could go figure out how to get rid of the crux of that disease or that disharmony.
Yeah, you could treat the symptom forever,
right?
Or you could get to what is actually causing the symptom,
right?
Yeah,
and there's no problem for me. There's no problem with also treating the symptom,
sure,
because there's many times
the symptom's real.
Yeah, if I don't treat the symptom, I can't fucking be on my game to go treat the cause.
Exactly.
So, yeah, it's totally fine. If I need to chill out, fucking veg out and watch Netflix, like, that's totally fine. But am I doing that because I'm not, and then I won't address what the real issue is? Well, now I'm in avoidance. If I'm fucking exhausted and I'm like, I know I'm going to go accomplish that, and here's how I'm going to go kind of just sit back and relax and rejuvenate for a moment until I go do that, cool, then go do whatever that is. Yeah, so that the idea of cancel culture scares the shit out of me. Well, here's what I really think about it. I think that there's more conversation about cancel culture than I actually see of cancel culture happening.
Really?
There's a lot of things that say, oh, one person got offended and they want to cancel it. One person, one conversation, one article. And then there's 50 articles about how cancel culture wants to do this to that one thing.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a hype of the one thing, as opposed to just don't fucking talk to that one guy. If he feels offended, fuck him. Have him go sit with his feelings of offense. Go work on that.
If he's truly offended.
If he's truly offended, he should go figure something out. Yeah. By not changing the rest of the world, change himself.
I agree. Cool.
Which is part. So going back to Dr. Seuss, it makes me sad that I don't know the books. I don't know if the entire thing is racist and bullshit, and I don't know. But I like the stance of how Disney's doing it, which is, hey, viewer discretion. So now you know that this is going on, and if you are okay with that, you can make the choice to have a conversation or not. If you're not okay with that, well, then don't. It's still the choice. It brings you back to at least what I think that you're talking about, and I overlap with you, is that feeling of respect and giving consideration so that somebody can make more of a clear choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I don't know Dr. Seuss's stance. I wonder if Ted Geisel would be rolling around in his grave.
I don't know. I think he'd just write a different book.
Probably. He'd probably write a book about cancel culture and make it really awesome.
Probably. Yeah, I also tend to think that, there's a difference between going after and all of the books that have been published and saying we've got to destroy this and erase it from our history.
Yeah.
Versus we're just not going to publish that anymore. We'd see that as, when we do, it's got to be complete. It's got to contain that bit in it. We're not going to rewrite or reorganize or redo that artistic work, but we're also not going to replicate it. We're not going to continue putting that out into the world. I'm like, there's plenty of Dr. Seuss books that aren't racist. So are we missing out on 6 things? I don't know. Are we missing out on a potential conversation? Yeah, I see that we're missing out on a potential conversation. And does that need to be the impetus for that conversation?
Yeah, that's very interesting. I appreciate that you brought that point up, because I'm also thinking of the audience that it's going to, and the impressionability. Is that the right word? The impressionability? The impressionist
ability? Sure.
I'm just going to say the same word over 3 times until it sounds right. I've offended myself. I am canceling me.
Don't do that, because that cancels me.
Yeah. You can sit in my garage by yourself.
So boring.
But the idea of how impressionable they are, that they may not be able to understand what they're doing, and how that may create a foundational impression on little kids. So that's an interesting one to take into consideration. But
and it also is the stand of the owner, the now owner of that piece of art. Also, is that their stance is now, we don't believe that the conversation necessary to understand the context of when this was written, why this was written, and how this was written is going to take place. So we're not going to put it out into the world. There's plenty of other things to put out that serve the purpose that we believe these are for.
Yeah. What came up for me when you said that is the idea of eradicating it from our history. That to me sounds so scary and bad. Yeah. Which is why I like the idea of, and I've been to like a lot of war museums. They are fascinating. Yeah. To go learn about the history and, the technology of the time and why we needed to do what we were doing, and who the bad guys were and what their motives were and who the good guys were, and all that's interesting. But then you also start to see all the statistics of this many people died. Right. And which left that many homes without a dad or a brother or a whatever. Right. And the value that has.
Yeah, there's additional meaning to it, right? I saw this post come across my Facebook feed about somebody bitching about the noise that
that their wife was having on conference calls.
No, that the military base they lived next to made too much noise.
Yeah.
Right? It would be like Camp Pendleton does war games all the time, and they test bombs, and it's loud, and it booms through the entire fucking
South Orange County.
Yeah.
Yep.
okay, I get it. Is it annoying every once in a while? Yeah.
Mhm.
The response this person put was, if you don't like the sound of freedom, leave the country. And I'm like, why does the sound of freedom have to be the destruction, the design and implementation of things that were designed to kill people?
Yeah.
Killing people is not freedom. Like that shortcut logic is, to me, the same bullshit.
But he's American.
Fucking bullshit.
The other one's not an American.
Fucking bullshit. All of that is bullshit.
I love that argument. Like, you know, when you see the people storming the Capitol, or you see these left liberal woke people, and they're like, "I'm American." You're like, "What the fuck?" Like, what? That argument doesn't go anywhere, because we're all American. So what are you saying? Well, no, I'm American. And you're like, no. Super funny.
It's hilarious.
Funny. So what is this one? We hold these truths to be self-evident. This sounds like we're going right into that. What's that note about? What do humans deserve, if anything?
Well, you had mentioned in some other conversation that, on the Productive Learning website right now, there's a little phrase that says, "You deserve extraordinary."
Oh, yeah.
And you put in a conversation that the things that get you irritated are this particular phrase. And I'm like, oh, was that like a passive aggressive move to change the little tagline on our website? I don't know. Or did you just not recognize that was the same thing? And so my thought was, hey, let's have a conversation about what are truths that we can just all agree on. And do human beings deserve anything, or how does that sit with you? Because I'm curious to know what's up with that.
Yeah,
and why you didn't talk to me about it before.
No, I did talk to you, and you and Alicia told me, nope, this is good, this makes sense for us, this is what marketing needs, and this is what we should do. And I said, got it. I abdicate responsibility on this, which maybe was a poor move on my behalf. So the idea of everyone deserves this, or everyone deserves that. I have a fundamental disagreement with that concept, because I don't see anywhere written in the stars, in science, in objective reality, that says anybody deserves anything. If you want to talk about subjectivity, that we should all deserve respect, and we should all deserve happiness, I could understand that. But there's a should in there that is a big, big change to that conversation. You deserve this versus you should deserve this. Those to me are very, very different. Because the idea of you deserve this, that means that there is some rule that says, because I am this, therefore this is endowed to me, or I have a right to that. And by my view of that, we are just another piece of biology on a rock floating through the universe. On what grounds? On what grounds do you deserve that? Now, I also get the concept of, well, I work really hard and I deserve a break or something like that. I deserve a rest period. Again, I don't know if it's about deserving, or if it's that you want it. That you, because of your own equation of, if I work 10 hours, I get a break, or if I work really hard on this, then I get a break, then that's your own value system. And for me, I am like, hell yeah, power to you. You deserve that because you said you did, because you're living by your own values. But I am not one that subscribes to everyone should adhere to this value, because I don't know that everybody believes in that. And I can't imagine, with 7 billion people on the planet, that everyone has the same exact values. So that's where I I get the intent. I get the intent of what people mean by you deserve extraordinary. You deserve a wonderful marriage. You deserve to make a lot of money. I get the intent of it, but to me, there's another way to say it that's actually more accurate. You could have a great life. You could have a great relationship. You could make a lot of money. But deserve has this feeling of endowed or privileged by, or like you became worthy once you do X, Y, Z, then you become worthy of, then you deserve it. I don't know that that's true.
Is there any universal truth for human beings?
No. That you have your own truths, and those are what are real for you.
So there's some, whatever Greek philosopher, I don't remember their names or the order in which they came, but the I think, therefore I am.
Descartes.
So I've read that if you flip that phrase to I am, therefore I think, that would actually be a more truthful statement about human existence. And that if that could be a universal truth for human beings, some of us think a little better than others, but
we won't talk about those nincompoops.
So I'm wondering at what point, like how far can you take, like if that's a universal truth, I'm going to say that it is.
Well, are you open to challenging that for a second?
Challenge it.
Because what about things that we would say don't think? Would you say an amoeba thinks? Single-celled organisms? I wouldn't say that
possible.
I wouldn't say that they think. I would say that they have biological functions that compel them or their other parts of their physiology to act certain ways. So they feel a temperature difference because that's what's one of the sensors that they have, and they realize it's too cold over there, so I'm going to swim or kind of wiggle my body that way. And then when I touch this thing, it tastes good, or it provides me nutrients, and so then I'm going to gobble it. But the fact of thinking, I don't know that they think, at least in regards to the way that we talk about thinking. And yet it exists. So the flip of Descartes of I think, therefore I am, but it is, but I don't think it thinks. So I would challenge that argument of I think, therefore I am. Or
I think both statements then would be challenged by that.
What do you mean?
So if you think, then you exist.
Sure.
That was the original statement.
Okay.
So the amoeba, you say doesn't think, but it does exist. And the flip of that is, it exists, and therefore it does think. So both statements would be disproved by the single cell argument.
You confounded me. I pretzeled my brain.
Fuck. Okay.
Your Mensa genius just blew my mind. Say it again. Tell me again. I want to understand.
Okay, so there's the single cell organism.
Yeah.
You say it exists.
Yeah.
And does not think.
I would argue that the way in which we talk about what thinking is, yes, it does not think.
Okay. So it does exist, but it does not think.
Yep.
All right. So Descartes, as you have said I think.
Yep.
Therefore I am. So the existence is because it thinks. So existence happens after thinking happens. Is that right?
Well, we have to look further into the argument of what Descartes was trying to prove.
He was talking about human beings.
Yes, but he was just trying to prove the fact of there. I don't even know that I exist. I could just be in a dream state and within some kind of thing called God and floating about and just in not real. So he needed to figure out, how do I know that I'm real? But he wasn't figuring out anybody else or any other entity. So the argument works for yourself just to know, just to just to
Confirm that you exist.
confirm existence is real.
So the amoeba doesn't
not-
need to confirm existence.
Yeah, it's just to confirm the existence of something, as opposed to this is all just a hologram of non-existent things. So we can't use this premise anymore.
It falls apart.
It falls apart.
Okay.
But go back to the idea of what we were talking about, which is,
Yeah.
what do humans deserve? No, excuse me. We hold these truths to be self-evident. What do humans deserve, if anything?
Yeah.
So your question to me was: is there anything that is self-evident for all humans or for all things?
Let's say all humans.
Okay.
We'll just limit it to human beings.
Yeah. Fuck giraffes.
We think and
Fuck
exist.
amoebas
Whichever order that
and
comes in.
dandelions. Screw those things. Just humans.
That's right. Did you hear? Sorry, tangent.
Tangent.
I think it's a cuttlefish. Passed the marshmallow test.
Yeah. Yeah. Was it a cuttlefish? Yeah. It was a cuttlefish or an octopus of some kind. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It denied itself immediate pleasure.
Crazy.
That's incredible, right?
Crazy.
That's fun.
How many more millions of years until that thing is where we are? And then what does that mean we will be in that amount of time?
What if what we become is that and it's just way more advanced?
I find that the logic is hard to swallow.
It is. I totally understand.
But it is amazing.
Need to be a little higher than we are right now to have that conversation.
Yeah. We're actually at the bottom of the food chain. If you tilt it upside down.
If you look at it in a mirror, it's just completely different.
Yeah. That is pretty wild that they have that ability to that complex thought.
Yeah.
That is super cool.
I also saw another article. I haven't read it yet, but it said that whatever evidence, I have no idea who was looking at this guy, that ants have self-doubt.
How do they?
Exactly. I have no idea. I've got to read the article, but
Like their little antenna's like,
no.
I'm scared.
They start hoarding Xanax and shit.
That's really
No
interesting.
Anyway. But it's funny.
So going off on that, actually, off on that tangent. So then what do you think about extraterrestrial life outside of planet Earth?
I totally believe that there's got to be some other life. It'd just be a giant waste of space.
There's got to be some other life.
There has to be.
There's something like 250 billion stars in the Milky Way galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
And on average, every galaxy has roughly 250 billion.
Mm.
And there's anywhere between something like 500 billion to a trillion galaxies.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Exactly.
That is the craziest thing.
What that makes me think of every time is Men in Black.
Yeah.
The galaxy is in Orion's belt. And you're just like, oh.
And then we're just in a marble of aliens playing. I think about that too. I think about that. Actually, kind of like it's almost once a year I have that thought. What if we're just in somebody's big ass game or little game and they're freaking enormous?
Exactly.
Because, to an ant, that's all they're doing.
Yeah.
That's all we are to them. Like we can
Exactly.
just manipulate their entire world and they know no difference. So why couldn't there be something that's that much bigger?
So I saw somebody propose the idea that the universe, the entire universe, is just a neural network.
Oh, how so? What do they mean by that?
I don't know.
You just read the title?
I read the title and I
Damn
was
it.
like, wow, if the universe was just the exchange of neurons firing in some way, like the energy that we can't see or feel or experience from our vantage or point, like what would that mean about any scalability or shit we don't even know? I love that.
Yeah. I'm really curious. What will 50 years from now and the advancement of technology be able to detect that we have no no knowledge of, no recollection of, no ability to detect right now.
Mhm.
Like right now, we don't see radio waves, right? And so we figured that out 100 years ago, or whatever amount of time. How that there are things such as radio waves, and then actually how to utilize them to our advantage,
Manipulate them and
do whatever we wanted. Like, what's the next form of that? What's the next thing of
teleportation?
That? Yeah, and telepathy, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
moving shit, manipulating matter, disassembling it and reconfiguring it. Fuck yeah!
Wouldn't that be cool?
Oh my god, that'd be wild.
There's such a big part of me that wants to be able to like live hundreds of years just to see that. And then there's another part of me that's like, oh God, what would I look like? And I would just feel like a piece of shit. I'd look like a Sith Lord, you know, like just my whole.
That would just be really sad.
I talked about Star Wars on my Facebook Live yesterday. Did you watch it?
I saw that. Yeah.
Did you watch it?
No.
You didn't watch it?
I watched the video. I didn't listen to it, and I read some of the comments, and it looked like people are really enjoying it.
I don't know.
You're geeking out.
Totally geeking out. So is it geeking out? That was my first question. It's not nerding out?
No. The geeks get really heavy into like the philosophy fan and like gushing over certain things. So like you got geeks that do like the comics. You got geeks that like shows. You got geeks that like card games and D&D and
so
all
they
that
get really
kind of stuff.
into one
like
narrow
this
thing.
Fantasy world kind of thing. And then nerds are like really into science and how things work and putting it together. So a geek can be nerdy and a nerd can be geeky, but they are.
So it's more about the topic. A nerd is more topic related, whereas a geek is more how they go about doing something.
Flip it, but yeah.
Flip it?
Yeah.
But I thought a geek was how they go about it is they just get absorbed into one thing, right? It's not the topic that matters, but a nerd is all about the topic. It's got to be about science and textbook and academia kind of thing, right?
Wow, you like totally flipped what I was intending to say into a way that makes sense to you, but is backwards from the point I was trying to make, and still makes sense. Fuck.
Look at me, I'm amazing.
That's wild.
I contradicted yourself by affirming you.
Yeah, it's so weird.
How did that work?
My mind is blown right now.
Well, it made sense to me. Where did it not make sense to you? So tell me again what the definitions of a nerd and a geek are.
So a nerd understands how things work and are put together and the formulas and very academic.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
And then a geek is a topic. You can geek out on a topic is like Star Wars geeks, Star Trek geeks, Magic card geeks, Dungeons and Dragons geeks. Those are all different topics. You don't geek out on all of them. You geek out on something that is specific to you.
Can you geek out on botany? Or would you nerd out on botany?
You would be a botany nerd.
You'd be a botany nerd.
But you could geek out on it.
Motherfucker.
Like the excitement and the joy and the pleasure that you derive from that and how involved and intricate you are with like the storylines. And it's usually around fantasy stuff is where geeks play. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so Star Wars geek, got it. I figured it out. I'm hip to your
my lingo.
Your lingo.
Picking up what I'm putting down.
Mm-hmm. Where were we going with that? Why were we talking about Star Wars? Talking about the galaxy.
You were talking about the Facebook Live you did about Star Wars, and you were going to go somewhere, but you asked if I saw it, and then you were talking about geeks or nerds.
Where was I going with it?
I have no idea. It was in your brain.
Where did we come from?
We're
talking about the universe.
Talking about the universe.
And the neural network.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Oh, then you were like, I wish I would live for a really, really long time to be able to see where we are.
But then I would look like a Sith Lord.
And then you're like, oh yeah, and I did that.
That's what happened.
Yeah.
That's probably what was on my mind.
Okay.
Glad that we circled back on that. I feel complete.
Yeah. Nailed it.
All right, what else are we talking about?
So we talked about my authority issues. Do you want to talk about that, or do you have
go for
something
it.
you want to talk about?
Hit it.
Okay.
Authority.
So earlier this week, I had a
Is this
couple
about
of
me?
conversations. No, it's about your dad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're gonna butter him up tonight with a dinner.
No, he's cooking it or ordering it.
He's gonna butter himself up with the dinner he cooks.
Fucking whatever. So, dude, yeah. So I was exploring my authority issues earlier this week because I got totally triggered by my respect button got pushed. The idea that look at all this, I was totally blameful on the victim triangle.
Yeah.
And I caught myself and I was like, fuck, this is not where I want to be. And so I realized that I had an expectation. And that expectation was not being met. And then I looked back in my history to understand what about authority? Like when I have somebody in the up box, right? Like you sometimes, or your dad, and there's an expectation I have of you guys, and you just fucking let me down. Like, what is that about? Where does that come from? And there was a time in my life where I wanted desperately to feel loved and cared about.
And specifically like from your dad?
From my parents, yeah.
From your parents, both of them?
Yeah. And so when, and it wasn't, yeah, anyway, I don't need to clarify. So in those times, the expectation that I had of them, and when it wasn't met, my strategy became the people who are supposed to aren't. So I have to. Right? Okay. And so the way I would feel loved and cared about or feel safe, those are the three major things, right? When I wasn't feeling those and I didn't feel like they were being provided to me, I went to, whether they're provided to me and my brother, provided in general, then I would take that responsibility on in some way. Like as a young kid, like how, I don't even know that I was totally capable of all of that stuff. And so from that would be my go-to then. And when to get me to that point where I would take responsibility, I had to believe that whoever was supposed to isn't, which is blameful, right? And so when I have this expectation on you or your dad, it's like, yeah, they're supposed to be doing it this way, doing this thing so that this is the result. And that's the only way to do it because that's the only perspective I've got. And then when you don't, like, fucking shit. I'm now unsafe. I'm now not loved. I'm not cared about. And I'm not considered.
Ooh. Dun, dun, dun.
And that's where that lives for me, right? And so making the shift out of that is now ties me into the leader that I want to be, which represents being aligned, being curious, being collaborative, and living through my values of love, patience, and creation. So now that I'm recognizing and becoming more aware of when I'm blameful and what that means and where that's triggered by, then I can make that move and that shift to represent those new things, that new identity that I'm creating for myself as that kind of leader. So the move to have dinner, break bread with you and your dad, and have a discussion about the things that I think are misaligned, and invite you guys into a conversation about, well, this is where I see some misalignment. How do we deal with that? How do we deal with that, right? Being collaborative, getting curious, seeing if you guys see the same thing, maybe not, but these are the whatever, rather than being blameful, saying you guys got to fucking up your game, or your dad has to up your game, or whatever it is. That's not really going to land well for anybody.
Probably not. But what I also hear in the when you get into the triggered state is a condemnation of the other.
Oh yeah, for sure. You're supposed to.
Right. And because you're not, you become bad and I have to do it myself. It's not like a disregard, like they're still okay. They're still an okay person. It's they're bad. I have to do it myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Okay, cool. Well, that was very clear and articulate.
Yeah. And it was a follow-up from some of our previous conversations about authority.
It'll be interesting to see how the conversation goes tonight.
That's why I brought the whiskey.
I saw that. Good idea. Good idea.
And this attitude. Like, this is a new attitude.
Yeah.
Different.
Hell yeah.
We'll see.
I like it. I think you're. I like the way you're showing up as a leader in incorporating and bringing people in. So it'll be. I'm curious as to how the conversation is started and then where the conversation goes.
Yeah, I'm not clear as how the conversation starts, but
because I can also tell you, I think my dad and I, prior to the conversation that I had with you yesterday, asking about what is this conversation about, because before it was just an invitation to via text, is that I had a very different idea of what the conversation was about.
Oh, what do you think the conversation was about?
It's just about our online product pathway and where we are with the business and cash flow and how are things and where are we going.
Oh, cool.
So that was the conversation. That was my assumption.
Nice.
Which is why I wanted to check in, because I felt like there was more in your text that I am not understanding, and I cannot assume. I can't even think, and assume what it could be.
Nice.
So that's why.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah. So we'll see where the conversation goes. Cool. What else we got going on here? Oh, we already did that one.
I think those are the things that I want to
You did all of yours.
About. What do you want to talk about?
Update on the no agenda for sex life.
How'd that go?
So we're still doing no agenda, and what's really nice, if you remember, part of the feeling that Cassie had was that I always had an agenda, and that's what's going on in her mind, even though it was going on in my mind as well. But that's what's going on in her mind, and that is a turnoff. And because of that, she was exhibiting very little amount of affection. There wasn't.
She was withholding.
She was withholding.
Yeah.
And not even just like. Just normal, like walking around the house, like, hi, how are you? Kiss, kiss, love, pinch, pinch kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because she had this feeling of if I show something, it's going to be he's going to think it's like we're going all the way, we're rounding third and going to home all the way. This is what he thinks is going to happen. And I also noticed how it felt like I am a person's dying of thirst, and so any ounce of it that I get, it's like I become just a hungry mongrel trying to get the water. And so we created the dynamic that we both feared with each other. So then the idea to go agendaless was to put me curb my push and for her to feel safe to express affection. And definitely say that there's a lot more affection. It's definitely there's definitely a lot more connection that we're feeling that's not purely sex. It's some of it's sexual, but it's still I guess if you broaden that, it would just be all kinds of intimate kind of connection. Which is great, because it definitely has me. It takes away the fear that I think that was riding underneath the whole thing quietly, which was like, if I don't get it now, it's never going to happen, right? And so now it's like, oh no, but she still kisses you, and you guys still pinch each other, and you guys still rub up against each other, but as much as it's not sex, you get that. So notice that it's still there, Lyndon, and part of my mind goes, okay, that's nice.
Does feel good.
That feels good.
Yeah.
So that's where we are. That's the improvement so far.
Nice.
Yeah. We're still working. Part of what I was, we actually didn't talk about our sex life in our therapy session last time. I don't remember what we did talk about, but it's still
really important.
Yeah, real important stuff. Just the foundation of our relationship and marriage. So I'm still going with the agenda.
Nice.
And seeing how that continues to unfold. I still have on the back of my mind, I would like to have more sex. I want to have more sex with you. But there's so many other factors that are involved in that as well. There's because we're in such a, this is actually related to the other stuff that I wrote on here was we're in such a novel place in our life with Grace. Grace turned 3 days ago, or 3 months.
3 months.
3 months, 2 days ago. And everything is just so new. There's like a cliche like that goes around for parenting of once you think you know, then it changes. And it's so true. She gets on some kind of routine for about 10, 12, 14 days, and you don't really figure it out until day 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And so then you're like 3 days of like, oh, I got this figured out. I totally get it. And then whoops, she goes through a growth spurt, and it's different in some form, right? So
wow.
What you heard before was I think you heard it. I don't know. Cassie and I have been talking about it on and off for the last couple of days. Is Grace is going through another growth stage, which is causing all kinds of her brain to grow and different hormones flushing through her body as her body develops, which makes her a little bit more irritable and not as good a sleeper because her body's just awake more. Yeah. It's fidgety more. It's maybe uncomfortable more. Which then makes it so that, well, if she doesn't sleep well, that means mom and dad don't sleep well.
Yeah.
Right. And so then we're walking into the day, not at 100%, maybe not at 90%, and trying to get through the day of whatever work and tasks that we have. And then whatever's left over and trying to still work on our relationship. So there's that whole thing that's going on as well. Yeah, it's a wild game. But part of that, tangential to that, is we're actually looking at a nanny. We're looking into getting a nanny or caretaker or au pair, but I don't think I think an au pair has to come from another country. So maybe it's not an au pair, unless they did come from another country. But we're looking at this, and it's a very strange idea to have somebody come in and essentially like work as a personal assistant for us, but in our house for our family. It's almost like it's a personal assistant to the family. Yeah. So they can take care of Grace, and they could clean this thing, and then they could cook a little bit of that. And then that alleviates us from doing that work, so that therefore we could be, the intent is so that we could be more of Cassie and I together, and Grace and I and Cassie together. But it's a very strange feeling of bringing somebody into the family like that.
Yeah.
Because we already have a new person in the family. Her name is Grace, and now we're going to add somebody else in who's not family, but she's essentially going to act like family. But she's not going to act like family, or she. We're talking with a gal. That's why I'm saying she. It's going to act like family, but then she's not family because she's actually working for us, but we want her to feel like family, because I don't want it to be like there's a client or a worker in our house. We want Grace to feel like this is somebody helping raise her, which they will be. It's very interesting. We're actually having our first conversation with the interview conversation on Monday.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wasn't Mark's Lisa, didn't she do that for a while?
Oh, I don't know.
I thought she told me a story about that. I could be completely wrong, but somebody I know that you know told me a story about doing that.
Oh, nice.
Totally random thought.
It could be. I mean, I think for some people it is an amazing job.
Yeah.
They get to be a part of some family. They get to watch them grow. They get to be a part of that. They're a caretaker by nature. It could be, I mean, it sounds like it's a great job for a certain kind of person.
Yeah. I like movies and people and TV shows keep coming to mind about nannies. Like you got Fran Drescher and you got Mary Poppins and then you got Poison Ivy and then you're just like, what?
Poison Ivy. What's
You didn't see
Poison
that
Ivy?
one?
No.
Oh, that's creepy. What was another one?
My Babysitter's an Axe Murderer. Isn't that one?
Oh, something like that.
Something like that.
So I think that's 3 different movies, but yeah.
Did I mesh it 3?
Mesh like 3. Like Mike Myers was in, I think I Married an Axe Murderer.
Oh, that's what it was. I think I Married an Axe Murderer. That is Mike Myers. There's another one. There's a couple different ones about babysitters.
Yeah.
Like My Babysitter's a Superhero or something like that. And then
The Babysitter's Dead.
Babysitter's Dead. Is that one? I'm sure there's a lot of porn ones too. Like,
oh God, I'm sure. Yeah.
I banged the babysitter.
Okay, so if you're looking to become part of the Crow family, submit your application
to Andy@productivelearning.com.
I will not be fielding interviews. No.
Send your picture to Andy@productivelearning.com.
No. Thank you.
If they're any good, they'll pass them along to me. Oh, so this is a totally different topic.
Cool.
Remember when your power went out at your house?
Yeah.
Your like whole community went out?
Yeah.
And you asked if you guys could come over?
Yeah.
And work here?
Yeah.
I felt so shitty.
Good. You should feel shitty.
For denying you to come over here, for saying that you couldn't come over here.
That's funny.
It weighed on me for a while.
Did it?
Yeah, totally did.
Oh, I got over it pretty quick. What I didn't get over was your use of meh at the beginning of your statement. Like, no would suffice. Not meh. That's just, what? What are you trying to say here? Like, what?
What I was trying to say there was, I feel really bad. I'm going to say no, but I feel bad saying no. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
And I was talking about it with Cassie.
So
This is a very regular thought. I want to be super wealthy so that I can create opportunities for people that I want to give them to. Like all of those, Instagram and online things like Tank's Goodness, like somebody's walking down the street and they go past they're passing somebody that's homeless and they say, hey, what do you want? I want a tent and a sleeping bag and $1,000.
Wow.
And then they come back later and they give it all to them.
Wow.
Right. Or they bought somebody, they found out that somebody's been walking 6 miles to and from to work. And then the owner of the Pizza Hut or whatever it is bought him a car. I want to be able to create that. Like I want to have the amount of wealth to have the house that says, oh, you don't have a place for hours or days? Great. Here it is. And it doesn't inconvenience you. It doesn't inconvenience us. Because part of why I said no was Cassie and Grace are moving around. Cassie had a phone call, which meant that I was going to be taking care of Grace, and I didn't know where I was going to be in the house. Our house is small, so where is Karen going to be on a conference call? And I'm like, and so I'm rationalizing, and it makes logical sense that I don't think it will work. We will not make it work. And I think what it was showing me is that I don't know if I would even consider it a value. It's like a dream, or it's like a desire of, damn, I don't have that.
Wow. So it wasn't about me at all.
Well, it was about you, is that I want to provide.
Wow, dude.
And I couldn't provide. And that's a feeling that I like.
Why?
Why?
Yeah, why is that so important to you?
I don't know. I was just going to describe how it feels. It feels energizing to me. It feels like it's humanity at its finest. It's of supporting somebody, and then they're going to go and support somebody else. And it feels like it's a ripple effect out into the world. It feels like that's how the beginnings of ripple effects go out into the world. And
that's interesting.
When there is a place where I see that I could create that, like there's the potential to create that, but for whatever reason I don't, or I can't, like in this circumstance, I didn't feel like it was appropriate to, it has me, it feels like I don't get the that little hit. I don't get the feel goods.
That sounds like a shitty experience.
Yeah. I talked to Cassie about it after I even told her, I said, I'm going to tell Andy just asked this. I'm letting you know, but I'm going to tell him no, because I just don't think it'll work between you on your call and Grace and I on my other calls and whatnot. So I don't think it'll work. And she said, okay. And then she like walked away. It didn't, for her, it was nothing. And I remember I was kind of stewing on it for a little bit. And then I came back to her. I was like, it really bums me out. It's not like I was anxious about it afterwards, or like I felt super bad for you. Then even when you said that you're going up to Carson's place, I was like, that's fucking badass. You better like luxury up there. But it bummed me out. It just had this feeling like, oh man, it wouldn't it be so cool if I could provide that, if I could do that, if I could be the person that created that opportunity for somebody.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So that's the reason why I want to become super wealthy.
That's interesting, because what it has me think of, and I don't know that this applies to you and your relationship with it, but I was thinking about this the other day too, like the difference, like the snowflake Democrat weirdos who need to provide for all the poor people, that it just perpetuates the idea that there needs to be poor people so that they can feel better about how wealthy they are and what they're doing for the poor people.
Oh, interesting. Oh, wow.
And I'm like, Jesus Christ, why don't we just make some policies so that the need to have poor people is just diminished, because people need to have poor people.
Right. Oh,
whether it's poor people to enslave in really cheap labor, or it's poor people to save. Like, there's got to be some other way to deal with this. Like,
oh, that's really interesting.
That's fucking crap.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Right. It doesn't feel the same to you, but it just had me think and remember I was thinking about that the other day. So I was like, wow, that's weird. Yeah,
like that doesn't occur to me to do that, though. I think it would be great if I had that amount of all this kind of money and I was helping poor people or whatever it was. To me, it more occurs to even more so about people that I know. Like when I think I was talking to you about this, we were kind of looking into it a couple weeks back or maybe a month ago, of buying a house or a cabin or something up in the Big Bear area, Big Bear Lake Arrowhead. Did I ever tell you about that? Yeah. So I talked to my mortgage guy. I talked to a realtor up there.
Mm-hmm.
I've been looking at properties on Redfin and Zillow and checking it out and whatnot. One is mainly so that Cassie and I could have a place that we could go and live to and work at for 2 or 3 weeks straight, and then come back down to Orange County, and it's only an hour and 45 minutes away, and so it's not like it's that big of a deal if I need to come down for XYZ and then I get to go back up there. That would be the main thing. And we also, both of us, want to eventually have a place surrounded by trees, surrounded by evergreen trees, right? And even more so in mountains would be the best. So that was like here could be the first place that we could go do that. But the other thing that was always on the back of my mind is, then my sister Dana and brother-in-law Jimmy and their kids, if they said, hey, can we go up to the cabin? It's like, yeah. Can we pay you for that? Like $50 so that we can have the cleaning crew come in after you. That's it. Like that to me, I would feel so freaking good. I feel so cool. I feel so like I loved providing the experience of my sister and their family to be able to go up there at really no expense so that they could go do something. And then you and Karen would say, hey, can we go for a weekend? I'm like, fuck yeah, dude, totally cool. $50 for the cleaning crew instead of like, but even that said, it's not like I'm not like philanthropy across, all over the place.
Right.
I would be lying, because I'd also want to make it into a rental property.
Sure.
I'd have a nightly fee of $200 or $250 on the weekends when it's snowing, and I could make a bunch of money. That was part of what we were looking at. Can we afford it, especially if we were to rent it? So it's not like I'm 100% that way. Like the what did you call it? Snowflake Democrat?
I was trying to be dramatic.
That's a new one on me. I like that.
I am a registered Democrat, but I don't consider myself a snowflake.
Not so snowflakey.
Yeah.
So like, I still have the desire of like, no, I'm going to make money. I'm going to have people pay for it and, have it all be equal that way. But there's like the idea of creating opportunities, especially for, I don't know if it's, you want to call it my network or my sphere, my inner spheres of connection. That to me sounds awesome. I freaking love it. I love that idea. I love the idea of hearing something that you like. You're like, oh, I really like these two whiskeys. And then all of a sudden on your doorstep is like 3 bottles of those whiskeys and mixer drinks and whatever. Like, just because I can, just because I want to. And I know that I can, but I also don't, I think I have too much of a scarcity of like, I don't have the funds to do the things that I want, which is really interesting because it also occurs to me only in big, grand gestures.
Yeah. Wow.
It's not like, hey, Andy, you did really good on the podcast today. It doesn't occur to me to do that. It occurs to me like, I need to spend $300 or more, and it's got to be pretty regular. And
wow.
Really, and $300 is kind of chump change. I actually want it to be more like in the couple thousands.
Wow, dude.
That's what I want. I want to be able to burn a couple $1,000 and really not give a shit.
Wow. That's so interesting.
Which is funny because all of the millionaires that I know
don't do that.
They are not penny pushers, but they are so cognizant of where they spend their money.
Yeah.
Nothing is done without monetary consideration.
Huh. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I used to have similar like big dream gestures, right? To the point where I berated my parents for celebrating their little accomplishments. And so like, I don't even know, like my parents would like weed the yard and they'd be like so jazzed and they're like telling these stories. And one day I was just like, you and your fucking little accomplishments. and they've never let me live it down.
Good.
And I love
you're an
it.
asshole.
I am. I'm a total asshole. And so like I had this dream when I was a coach for water polo that I would build an Olympic sized pool for my school, and they would just be this exceptional place for them to play and learn and swim and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I was like, the only way I can do that is to win the lottery. Like, there's no other way. I was so limited on how I would get it done, but it was my dream, right?
Nice. They
built a new facility at my school for this stuff. I don't know how they got the money, what they did, but it wasn't exactly what I envisioned, but it was my dream. Ooh. It came to fruition.
Nice.
I had nothing to do with it,
right?
Other than I dreamed it once, and I'm like,
did you?
Shit gets done that I want to get done without me
doing it.
What?
Did you feel good about it?
I felt great about it.
Nice.
I felt great that they had what I had intended. I had like the intent of what I wanted that school to have came true. It's amazing. But it's just like the big grand thing I'm just trying to relate to you on.
Yeah. You should, it'd be really cool.
No.
You could feel really good about your life every day is if you somehow got the news, but you weren't given the news of you were given the news of yes. How would this happen? I'd have to implant the news of today, but then not give you the news of today, give it to you tomorrow, and so then you'd think like, oh, look at all these things that I wanted to have happened. Did that make any sense?
I was like Inception.
Yeah.
So weird.
3 layers deep.
Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Nice.
I put this thing down, putting myself out there, fear and excitement. I'm not exactly sure what that was about.
When was the last time you were afraid?
I've never been afraid. Just kidding. Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay. Well, you don't have to tell us if you don't want to.
Yeah, I'll have to. We'll keep it unmarked and maybe I'll remember it
on
my next run or something. This accomplishment, this was kind of like a placeholder because my word is accomplishment, remember?
Yeah, I do.
And part of what actually stemming off of the real estate thing of instead of getting a place up in the mountains, Cassie and I said, well, why don't we put in our resources instead of getting it to another place? Why don't we put our resources into this house and the different things that we want, so that we feel really good about what we have here. And so that's where we got a personal trainer, Sean Turner. If anyone's down in San Clemente, want to get a physical trainer. So we got a physical trainer 3 days a week. And then we're looking at this nanny to come and support us and help us. We're redoing our master bathroom. We're redoing the front door.
A piece of shit.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. It's where you can see light through it. Through the center of it. Not through like where the door jamb is, like through the center
of the door.
That thing is dilapidated. So we're putting the money into that, which I think, as much as I don't really care for the whole process of getting it done and figuring out and getting bids and all that kind of stuff, like the end result of it, I'm looking at and thinking, I'm going to feel really good. I'm going to feel accomplished, that I like my house. I like this little lifestyle that I've created with the house support, if we can find that, and then the physical trainer that's coming to our house so that it can work with the time frames that Cassie and I and Grace have. So I'm really excited about putting that together. And I want to say that I think part of the move, there was obviously a bunch of different factors in it, but one of the factors was thinking about that idea of accomplishment and how would I feel accomplished? Because part of it was, we would feel accomplished if we got to have the cabin up in the mountains and trees and we could go up there. And that's been an idea and a dream that we've had for years.
Yeah.
No, what's something else? How would we feel accomplished? And then it came to our house stuff. So thank you, Andy, for having me think out my word for the year.
That's really cool. Do you feel some sense of accomplishment in making the decision to move forward on these things?
Yeah, we put a little Post-it note. I think you saw when you came in, we put a Post-it note up on one of our cabinets that just says physical trainer, house help, front door, backyard, master bathroom. Like, hey, this is what we're doing this year. We're figuring these things out. These are the big pieces of our life that we're figuring out while we go through our day-to-day and figuring out the daily things with Grace and the daily things with Winston and our business and da-da-da-da-da. These are like hey, we're moving these big chess pieces down the board. So it felt good to get clear on all of those, and that Cassie and I both co-created that thing.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, congratulations on your word and for living towards it. I don't know how else to say that.
Well said.
Yeah. It's fucking cool.
Yeah. We should end on that.
Go get laid, people. Hopefully.
Yeah. Eventually. Bye-bye.